Welcome to Jets Talk. My name's Ryan. I'll be your pilot. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you've been here before, welcome back. I love having you here. Boys and girls, I want to talk a little bit about Elijah Moore, Mecole Hardman. The Jets obviously traded Elijah Moore to the Cleveland Browns. So Browns fans that are watching this, I'll go into my thoughts on Elijah Moore, the trade in general, and what type of player you're going to be getting with Elijah Moore. And then Jet fans, we're going to be talking about that, plus the Mecole Hardman addition. So that, without further ado, let's hop into that. Mecole Hardman was the first transaction of the day for the New York Jets. We signed him to a one-year, $6.5 million max valued contract. He is 25 years old. He was a second-round pick in the 2019 draft. He's 5'10", 187 pounds. This past year, he had 29 touches for 328 yards and 6 touchdowns. Now, he did miss about half the season with a torn core, I think is what they deemed it, and he wound up having surgery just after the Super Bowl. So I'd imagine, you know, the Jets have probably gone through like physicals and things like that for this to all work out. But the type of player you're getting with Mecole Hardman is kind of the player sort of that you're losing with like a combination of Jeff Smith and Elijah Moore in some capacity. Clearly, you can see the height and size profile for Hardman and Moore are pretty similar here. But Hardman's going to be that gadget guy that, you know, kind of replaces a Braxton Berrios as well. He could take those end arounds. He could return kicks or punts. That's something the Jets have kind of needed, in the wide receiver room. And I'm fine with this addition. Now, I wasn't sure what to make of it when it wound up happening. I was kind of like, that's an interesting ad. I wonder what winds up happening. Maybe there's an idea that Elijah Moore is moving. We were talking about the Cleveland Browns possibly being a destination for Elijah Moore just, the other day. So for that to actually come through is pretty interesting. As far as Elijah Moore, so Browns fans, he is 5'10", 178 pounds, 23 years old, or he's 22. He's going to be 23 at the end of the week, or beginning of next week. I think beginning of next week. 42 touches this past year, 451 yards, 1 touchdown. He has 2 years remaining on his contract. Since he was traded, you now have him under contract for $1.4 million this year and $1.8 million for next year. So my initial feeling was, okay, we're moving on from Elijah Moore. I don't really like it. If you guys saw the short, I did post that while I was at work. It was just kind of my initial fresh reactions on it. So overall, it's interesting. Moving Elijah Moore. I'm going to take Mecole Hardman down from here, and we're just going to focus on the Elijah Moore stuff for right now. So Elijah Moore gets traded, plus our third-round pick number 74, for a second-round pick, which winds up being pick number 42. So if you're looking at the value chart, for those of you that don't know what this is the trade value chart. It assigns point values to each of your draft picks. So if the Jets traded pick number 74 plus Elijah Moore, and we got back a second-round pick number 42, that is the difference of 245 points. So essentially, the Jets valued Elijah Moore, or the Browns valued Elijah Moore as a third-round pick. That's what he wound up costing kind of in the trade. It actually, pick 69 is the pick that, is the pick that it equates to. So basically, the Jets took Elijah Moore at pick 34 2 years ago and then flipped him for a third-round pick this year. And I'll be honest, look, I'm a little irritated by the trade. I think Elijah Moore was primed for a breakout season with Aaron Rodgers at the helm here. And I'm sitting here looking at it, I'm like, man, we kind of sold low. Like, Douglas doesn't strike me as someone that sells low on a trade. And for me, it kind of tells me a few things. One is Joe Douglas was definitely ticked off at Elijah Moore for how he handled himself mid-season. Browns fans, obviously, Elijah Moore had a blow-up with our offensive coordinator, called him an F and A-hole, which for all you Jet fans that thought Elijah Moore was going to go to Mike LaFleur's brother in Green Bay, shame on you. That was never going to be the case. But yeah, you're getting a me-first player in Elijah Moore. Exciting guy. Very, very talented individual, but needs to be fed the ball. He wound up going off on a rant on our offensive coordinator, wound up benching him for a game, deactivating him, and that was on a win streak. Like, that's where we were coming from. He's having those types of emotions at that particular point in time. So that sort of irritates me, and he's always kind of been a me-first player. If you don't remember, he was the wide receiver in the Ole Miss bowl game that did the peeing dog celebration and wound up. So he scored a touchdown, does the peeing dog celebration, pushes the extra point back. The extra point was to tie the game. The kicker winds up missing the extra point because Elijah Moore was too selfish, threw up the the celebration at the end there and cost his team a win at the end of the game. So that's sort of the history here with Elijah Moore. Now, look, as far as like, what does this mean for the Jets? Like Aaron Rodgers, if you think he's coming over to the New York Jets, which I think all of us are pretty confident that's eventually going to get done, this is like, you don't make a move to your wide receiver core without Rodgers knowing that it's probably going to happen. I think there was probably a discussion when Rodgers met up with the Jets out in California, and it was like, okay, hey, who do you want on this team? Who don't you want? What receivers are you looking at? Okay, here's your list that you gave us of guys that you're kind of looking at. Here's what our current room is. Would you be upset if we moved anything around? Elijah Moore may not be a part of our future in that capacity. And I think Rodgers was probably okay with that. It always sort of struck me that Elijah Moore may get moved because of his personality. He's very me first. And Rodgers, if he's trying to win a Super Bowl on the New York Jets, I don't think that's the type of personality that you could really have in the locker room. And it's disappointing because I really value Elijah Moore as a first-round talent. So Browns fans, you are getting a very, very hungry wide receiver that's looking to prove himself. 100%. Now, he's also very, very close with A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf. So there's a good shot you're only going to have him for those 2 years. And if he does well, he's going to be looking for the bag like those guys got because he's let it known he wants the touches. That's what you're kind of in the wheelhouse for. So you got a 2-year window with Elijah Moore, and I think you guys should be pretty happy with that. Now, as far as the Jets go with like the trade compensation, now we have the first round pick, number 13. We have picks 42 and 43 in the second round. We still have, fourth, fifth, is it 2 fifths and a sixth? Whatever it is. Jets have some later round picks as well, but you would not have a pick in the third round because of this trade. Now, we've been talking about Aaron Rodgers and what is the compensation going to be? Does maybe 2 first round picks make up for not giving up the 13 overall pick or something along those lines? As a Jet fan, I still want the Jets to kind of hold their ground and stick to their guns because I don't think there's any reason to, 1, give up number 13, and 2, I don't think you have to give up 2 second-round picks this year. I think more than likely you're giving up 1 of the second-round picks and still maintaining your second-round pick. The Jets have met with Michael Schmitz, the center from Minnesota, at the Senior Bowl, at the Combine, they have a top 30 visit for him. So I think they're definitely looking to target him in the second round if possible. Now, it does concern me that the Giants don't have a center and they're possibly, sitting at pick 25. They may look to pull the trigger on a center at that point, lock him in for 5 years with their young quarterback. So there might be a situation, if you want that particular center, you may have to move up a little bit. But there's a few good centers in this draft that I would really be okay with taking. And the second round seems like the spot you're probably looking to get some of these talented players. So Aaron Rodgers, if you're thinking, okay, it's got to be a first round pick, maybe trading down from 13 and accumulating a few more picks like the Falcons did in the John Abraham trade with the New York Jets. They wound up trading down from their first round pick and wind up giving the Jets a later first-round pick that we wound up turning into Nick Mangold. So, Packers fans, maybe there's a shot you get a first-round pick if it's some sort of situation like that, and the Jets can build the bulk of their team in the center parts of this draft, which is where I kind of feel the strength of this draft is anyway. And you have, safety, linebacker, center, guard. What else am I missing? I'm probably missing something else in there. But those are like kind of the core positions that you can get between that second and fourth round, and you're going to get a quality player and probably a starter in some capacity for those levels. So overall, I was very cold on this move, but I think it's also like a statement move from Joe Douglas. Like, hey, I never lose trades. And maybe there's a little speculation, or not speculation, a little bit of debate as far as like who won this trade. I think the Browns won the trade. I think they got the better end of this deal. But I think Douglas sends a message saying, hey, look, you wanted to have fun. Guess what? Jets are going for a Super Bowl. Jets are probably going to have Hard Knocks. You could have built your brand if you were a team player and you were all about the Jets, but you were all about you. So guess what? You're going to go to the Browns now. You're going to get sent over there. You're going to get whatever touches you get. Go have fun in Cleveland. I'm sure your personality will have all sorts of excitement out there. So I think there's a little bit of spite. Like, I don't know how much other teams may have been involved with this, but I think it makes sense for the Browns. Obviously, they have the Watson contract. The cheap contract from Moore does help in that sort of situation. They need some cheaper contracts on that roster, but I don't know. I'm okay with the move. I'm less upset about it as I was earlier, but I thought Moore was primed for a breakout season with Aaron Rodgers, and I thought he really could have developed into something special. So, I think he's probably going to have to bank on Watson probably turning it around a little bit there and force feeding him the ball to get the contract that he's ultimately going to be out for and get. So Browns fans, I want to hear from you. What did you think of the trade overall? Jet fans, what did you think about the trade overall? What did you guys think about Mecole Hardman and everything going on around our New York Jets right now? Do you think the trade compensation changes for Aaron Rodgers based on this trade? Let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, go Jets.